Hey, what's going on, guys? So welcome to part 2 of range belt do's and don'ts. In part 1, we talked about double belt systems, basically inner outer belt, right? Most of those are made out of Velcro. We talked specifically about the Blue Alpha Gear double belt rig system, something that I wear all the time and I love. But also, we just talked about some general considerations and do's and don'ts for double belts. This time, we're going to talk about padded belt systems, right? So we are going to get into just padded belts. We're going to get into some generalities about padded belts. We're going to talk about the one that I like to use. And I also have another one here that I love to use as well, but I haven't set up. But there are some good talking points between both. So let's get into it. So before we get into the one that I like, or the two that I have in front of me, let's just talk about padded belts in general. What are some reasons why people love padded belts? The first one that comes to mind, and really I think the top one, is just comfortability, right? People love to be comfortable, and a padded belt system will do just that. It'll keep you comfortable all day long. Whereas a double belt system kind of sits on your hip bones. It kind of wears into the bones throughout the day and becomes a little tiresome depending on how you set it up. The thing with padded belts, however, is that you can have it sit on your hip bones, or you can have it sit just below your hip bones, depending on how you have yours set up, and be comfortable all day because of how padded it is. And when it comes to padding, these paddings come in different forms and shapes. We have neoprene, which is kind of like the one that everyone's using right now. Before that, we had a structured foam, or like a denser, harder foam. I remember my first Cry padded belt when I got in SF. It was this big monstrosity, but it also was this thick in the back because it gave you lumbar support. But it was made out of just this thick foam padding, almost like cardboard, which is still comfortable, but it still kind of, wears on you a little bit. These days, most people are using neoprene. Neoprene is great because it's soft, but it also has just enough give where it can stretch a little bit. It's not, it's also very padded. It's a soft, but it gives you a lot of traction. So neoprene is a good option for padded belts. The second reason I think people like padded belt systems is just the versatility of the thing. I mean, padded belts are made to carry so many different items, whether it has hard mounting or soft straps, whether you have standard clips, Tech Lock, SAFARILAND, Molly lock, or whatever you want to call it, and then even just soft straps. The way most of these padded belts are made, they're made to hold just a bunch of stuff. So there's a lot of versatility versus a double belt system. So with that versatility and with that surface space is that you get to customize a lot of different options. You get to put a lot of stuff on there. And that also means that you get to customize what you put on there and how you put it on there versus a double belt system, which is basically just some nylon, really thick, hard nylon. And some of them have MOLLE, some of them don't. But even with the MOLLE, it's very stiff and it gives you only so much real estate on there to apply things. You don't have that width like you do with padded belt systems. All right, so let's get into the belt that I use. I use the Walther Tactical Minimalist belt pad with a Blue Alpha Gear EDC hybrid belt. Now you see the belt, it's woven in through the minimalist belt pad from Walther Tactical, but this combination is awesome. I love these two. The thing I love about the EDC belt is that it has that 1-inch Cobra buckle, which is made for EDC. I mean, it's made for you to wear with your regular pants. But I also like it because it fits in my Walther minimalist belt pad just fine. And then that means I can also use standard 1.5-inch clips with some of my hardware. All right, so let's just take a look at this belt really quick. I have basically my pig gloves are hanging, but I have my Walther Tactical mag carriers, 2 pistol, 1 AR. Now we're getting into my Coyote Tactical Solutions stomp pouch, which I love this thing. This is the new gen. I just got this from them. Going into more of the belt, that now you see my SAFARILAND 6354 DO ALS holster with the 2-inch paddle drop. And then I have one more Walther mag carrier at the very end, and I'll get into why I have that there a little bit later. All right, so getting into this belt. What I love about the Walther Tactical belt is that, look at this neoprene, right? Let this focus here for a second. This neoprene, look how stretchy that is, right? But also, it doesn't have excess neoprene, right? It's not like folding over on itself or anything like that. But what I love about neoprene is that it has this give right here, but it also has a lot of traction. Like, look, the belt is moving with my finger. That's how much traction you get out of neoprene. It's a great material. People use it in all kinds of sports, but now we got this for tactical gear, which I love. The great thing about neoprene is that it has give. It has a little bit of give, right? What I love about the Walther one and what they did with their neoprene is that they put just enough neoprene on here so that it's not too stretchy. I've seen other belts that have too much neoprene and it's almost like jello. It's like it's like slime, right? It moves up and down too much, which would in theory cause the belt to move too much as well. But what I like about this minimalist belt pad is that it has just enough neoprene that the belt will kind of, the neoprene will give before the belt actually shifts, right? So if you have something harder than neoprene in here and you're doing these jerky motions or fast, hard motions, then the neoprene, there's not enough, or whatever that material is made out of, it doesn't give and now the whole belt moves. Whereas with neoprene, you have just enough give so that the neoprene gives and the belt doesn't, if that makes sense. The next thing I love about the Walther Tactical Minimalist Belt Pad is all these vertical cuts. The whole belt consists of these vertical cuts. These vertical cuts are about a 1/2 inch apart. And what that means to me is that I can take my belt and I can weave it in and out of any one of these. And the bottom line there is that I can customize this belt to optimize belt real estate, but also get my gear exactly where I want it. On some other belts, what you see vertical cuts and you also see some MOLLE cuts, but on the vertical cuts, you'll see them like every 2 inches or every 3 inches. So now you have an opening here and your next opening is here, which means that if your gear doesn't fit right here, then you have to either shift it or you have to take your belt out and weave it all the way 3 spaces down to get it back in. And now that kind of dictates where your gear goes versus a belt that lets you put your gear virtually anywhere. All right, so let's get into some considerations about belt pads, right? Just general considerations. One is comfortability. We already talked about how comfortable this belt system is, so we won't spend too much time there. But I mean, I've worn this thing all day on a hot day in a range. Through the course of fire, it stayed comfortable. I've never had to worry about it because even if it's sat on my hip bones, it's nice and padded. But if it's sat just below my hip bones, it's sitting right there on my butt and on my, my upper part of my legs. And it's really not, impeding me in any kind of way, but it stays comfortable. The next thing is that with belt pads, unlike double belt systems where you need that inner part for the outer part to attach to, with belt pads, these padded belts, it's easy on, easy off. You can quickly put it on, quickly take it off. There's no other actions before or after that dictate the functionality of this belt. So that's what's great. Another consideration for padded belts is, again, just the neoprene. How much neoprene do you want on your padded belt? So when you're shopping out there for padded belts, take a look at the amount of neoprene that they're actually using. Is it too much? Is it too stiff? Or is it like this Walther one, that has just about the right amount of space? And I've tried a lot of them, to be honest with you guys. And if you take my word for it, the Walther Tactical Minimalist belt pad is by far the best one when it comes to neoprene and the amount of give that it gives you on the backside. One other consideration for belt pads is just the width, right? So if you look at this belt pad is about, probably about 2.5 inches wide. So that gives me plenty of real estate to do what I want with the gear that I have. But that's one thing you need to take a look at because there are padded belts that come in bigger, 4-inch, or smaller, 2-inch or 1.5 inch. So you need to understand what do I have, what kind of gear do I have, and will it fit on here? For example, if you have these MOLLE lock clips, how does that going to feel or function on a 2-inch belt, on a 1.5 inch belt? How is it going to look and function on a 3-4 inch belt, right? So these are things that you have to consider as just the belt width. All right, so if you're switching to a padded belt from any other kind of belt, competition, duty, double belt, you have to understand that there's going to be retraining here. You have to retrain yourself because this belt, it sits differently, it functions differently. You know, it's not like a sturdy leather belt or the double belt where when you snag something out, the belt stays in place. With this, there might be just a little bit of give depending on how you wear this belt. So there is, and then it might sit higher or lower depending on how you wear it. So again, there has to be some retraining. Your holster might be sitting higher or lower depending on, you know, what you have your holster set up to. So retraining is almost mandatory when you're switching to a new belt. And that really is a general statement for all belts. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is that when you're shopping for a padded belt system, take a look at your gear. Take a look at your whatever you're going to put on this belt, whether it's soft mounting, hard mounts, and you may want to buy a belt that can accommodate everything you have, right? That'll save you money. Otherwise, if you like a belt that you see a belt that you really like, but then you take a look at your gear and you're like, shoot, only 50% of this will fit on here. You're gonna have to drop some money to buy some stuff to now accommodate the belt versus the belt accommodating the gear that you already have. So just another thing to think about. All right, so let's get into a couple negatives. A couple negatives about padded belts, just general negatives, right? A padded belt system doesn't anchor to anything. At least this one doesn't. Now I know I have one here that I'm about to show you that actually does anchor. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, on a double belt, you have an inner outer. So that outer belt anchors to the inner with all that Velcro. It makes that solid contact, and that's an anchor, right? With padded belts, they don't really anchor to anything. So this Walther belt doesn't have any anchor points. Now, what I have here is a Coyote Tactical Solutions belt, right? Notice what's on the inside of this belt. You have 4 belt loop retainers, all right, or belt loop retainers, whatever you want to call them. But what that means is that I can take these belt loops, right, which is just Velcro. Let's let that focus in really quick. All right, cool. You guys see that? I can take these Velcro loops and basically put them on my belt. So if I have a leather belt, if I have a regular belt, those belt loop retainers go in there, and then I wear the belt pad on top of this, on top of my, you know, pant belt, and now it's anchored. These 4 anchor points right here is what's keeping this belt staying in place. So it's not moving around on me, and it's not shifting up and down. It's basically like a double belt system, but it's padded. All right, let's get into what this is made out of though. Check this out. Let's let that focus. All right, cool. Check this out, guys. This is not neoprene. I'm not sure what they use on the back of this, but I'll tell you right now, it's a lot slimmer. It doesn't have any give, and it has traction, but not as much as neoprene. Now, Coyote Tactical Solutions are good friends of mine. Jesus, he's an awesome guy. He's a genius. I mean, I love his belt. I've been using his belt since generation 1. I've been using all his med pouches, just like the Stomp pouch that's on my Walther belt. The guy's great. Shout out to Walther, or excuse me, shout out to Walther Tactical, but also shout out to Coyote Tactical Solutions because Jesus makes awesome stuff, and I love this belt. I'll tell you what else I love about this belt, since we're on it. Besides the belt loop retainers, is these little H&K hooks. Have you guys seen these? Some people have to buy separate things to kind of have these hangers, but when you buy a Coyote Tactical Solutions belt, you get these 2 HK hooks with it. Now, I put my gloves on here. I put Ear Pro on here. I've hung other stuff on here like chem lights. Back when I was in SF, yes, I used Coyote Tactical Solutions belt in my last few years in SF, and I had chem lights right here for CQB. But let's get on the backside of this belt. Remember when I was telling you about all those vertical cuts that Walther has? Now, on this Coyote Tactical belt, you have vertical cuts and you have MOLLE cuts. But look how spread apart those vertical cuts are. So you don't have the same level of customization for weaving the belt in and out of this. But now, in addition, on top of that, you have some MOLLE cuts. So if you have a MOLLE lock system, then you can definitely weave it through there. Or if you have a soft MOLLE strap, you can weave it through there. So you have a little more, you have, you know, it's kind of a little bit of give and take with this belt. But it's a great belt. I love this belt, guys. You should check them out if you haven't done so already. Okay, let's get back to this belt. So we were talking about negatives. The first negative was just no anchor point, unless you have belt loop retainers like the Coyote belt, right? On Walther Tactical belt, I don't have belt loop retainers, but I know that they're working on them for a future generation. And they're also working on those H&K hooks as well. The other thing that's bad about padded belts is rearranging items, rearranging your gear on these padded belts. It is time consuming and it is frustrating Because if you want to add a new pouch, if you want to put a new holster, a new whatever on these belts, you're literally going to have to pull this belt almost all the way out in order to reweave it through the padded belt, right? I've at least halfway anyway, because I've definitely rearranged my Walther belt a few times, and I've had to take that belt out just enough to put that new item in and then reweave it and then put my stuff back on there, and there you go. So those are the two negatives: no anchor points, and it's just time consuming to rearrange items that you have on your belt. All right, so I promised you guys that I would tell you about my mag carriers, right? Now notice that on these mag carriers, these are like basically singled mag carriers. This one too on this side. So let's get into these mag carriers real quick. What I love about these Walther tactical mag carriers, and I'll just put this here so let's focus, so we can talk about a few features, is one, which is my favorite, is that little guide ramp right there, or that feed lip, if you want to call it, whichever one. But when I want to put a mag in there in a hurry, it hits that guide ramp and it goes right in. Same thing with the AR mag. And then I also love the bungee retention. So this has bungee retention. I can loosen it or I can tighten it depending on how much retention I want for those mags. The AR mags come in double moly lock, which are made by Blade Tech. All right. So the pistol mag that I have on this side, now I have it on my holster side, and I'm a right-handed shooter. So why on earth would I have a Walther tactical pistol mag carrier on this side? Well, besides the universal use of this that fits all mags like Glock, SIG, 1911, single stack, double stack, polymer, metal, whatever, this also fits other stuff. I like to use a Gerber on the range, right? I like to have it handy. So this will fit my Gerber just like that. I have good retention on this Gerber. That's not coming out, right? If I don't have a Gerber, maybe I have a flashlight, right? This is my Surefire Defender. Maybe I put that in there, right? If I want a flashlight on my duty belt or on my range belt, there's my flashlight. That thing is not coming out of there, right? So it's in there pretty good. Another thing that I can put in this Walther mag carrier is some cuffs, right? If you haven't seen these are Cobra cuffs. We'll be carrying these onto the Musa Store soon, but these things are pretty high speed. Separate video, don't worry about it. But for right now, if I'm a cop or if I'm going on deployment and I need something to hold my cuffs, this Walther pistol mag carrier also holds my cuffs, right? Now I don't have to worry about hanging these on a hook somewhere on my gear and for these getting snagged up in some, or whatever. So that is why I carry an extra pistol mag carrier on the right side of my holster side, even though I'm a righty, okay, in case you guys were wondering. All right, guys, so just a couple added kind of extra tips and tricks when you're looking for padded belts. Just like any belt, you want to size this to your hip, right? You don't want a belt that has too much material or is too overlapping. In this case, with this belt here, right, I have just a little bit of space in the middle here. So when I size this belt, this is the way I size mine. I want just a little bit of space right there where my belly button would be. I don't want the two padded sides to touch or overlap just because I don't like that. I want that little bit of space for the Cobra buckle. And that is how I size it. And I recommend to you guys to size it the same way. So I'm a medium or a 32 regular in pant size. And if you just go off your pant size, you will be doing just fine when you're sizing these belts to your waist. Okay, so the other thing about sizing these belts is that you're not really sizing the belt pad. I mean, they do have sizes, and you should definitely pick the right one for you. But more importantly, you want to get a belt that has enough length in it, extra length, in order for you to extend this thing. So if you guys look at mine, I have about 8 inches of strap left on the end. So that way I can resize this belt in case I'm going from a t-shirt to a hoodie, or a hoodie to a big down jacket or something. If I'm going to winter training and I have to put layers on, I can just adjust the belt. I don't have to worry about the pad. Now the pad will spread out a little bit, of course, yeah, with all those layers, but at least I have enough belt to size it or resize it to me, depending on what I'm wearing. All right, so, with most belt pads, again, I said there is no anchor points. Coyote Tactical Solutions, they have belt loop retainers. Walther Tactical is going to have them too. And a lot of these belt companies will catch on with that to kind of give you that little belt loop retention with their padded belts. But if you have one that doesn't have anchor points, what you can do is for your holster, add a thigh strap, right? So look at this thigh strap. All I did was I bought this thigh strap from Amazon, I believe, and I think it was a couple bucks, and I just added it to my SAFARILAND holster. All I did was put it in between the actual holster, the QLS system, and the 2-inch drop paddle. Put the screws back on, boom, I have a thigh strap. Now, when this thigh strap goes on my thigh, it's nice and tight. It keeps the holster in place, but the dual purpose there is that it keeps the belt in place. The most important thing about wearing a belt is that your holster doesn't shift, right? We can fight through our magazine shifting, our other gear, like our med pouch shifting, but what we don't want to fight through is finding that gun when we need it in the nick of time, right? When the heat is on, we need to get to that gun. So a thigh strap, dual purpose in this case, it keeps the holster from flipping up on you, but it also keeps that holster from rotating on a padded belt system. Now, the one thing that you need to consider with putting all your gear on either whatever belt you have, especially on a double belt that uses Velcro for contact or on a padded belt that uses neoprene for contact, is that the more real estate you use on your belt, the more you're taking away from those contact points. So on this belt system, look right here, this little area, I have 3 clips. They're Moly Lock from Blade Tech. But because of that, I'm losing that neoprene contact with my body. So now I have plastic instead of neoprene. So in this area right here, that is the weak point for me on my belt. It's going to shift on me a little bit maybe. It's going to shift up and down and may rotate just a little bit. But that is a weak point because I lost that neoprene contact. So one thing that you guys can do, just like you went out and bought Velcro and attached it to the back of your clips for your double belt, you can go out and buy neoprene and adhese it to the back of your clips. These Moly Lock, the standard clips, whatever clips you have, whatever gear you have, you can use some adhesive, buy some neoprene, attach it on there, and now you have that neoprene contact that you lost, or you have that neoprene real estate that you lost initially with putting all this gear on. All right, guys, so that is it for part 2, or really the last part of our range belt do's and don'ts. We covered everything you need to know about padded belts. I mean, hopefully after this video, 99.9% of your questions about padded belts are answered. And you may have learned something about your own padded belt, or if you're shopping for a padded belt, now you know everything you need to know about padded belts. But in case I missed something, just add it to the comment section and we will definitely address it, but also so that people can see it and learn from it, because Kawa doesn't know everything and I do miss stuff, and this wasn't rehearsed and I'm now reading off a teleprompter. I might have missed something. So just add it to the comment section. If you have a question, DM me by all means. I'll help you out. I get to my DMs in due time. You can also DM the Musa Store. A lot of this stuff is on the Musa Store. The only thing you won't find on there right now is the Coyote stuff, because we are in the process of getting all that back. But everything else you saw on this belt, from the SAFARILAND holster to the belt to the mag carriers to what else did I have, to the pig gloves, it's all on the Musa Store, right? So you can definitely go there, DM the Musa Store, or email and ask questions if you need to as well there. You will find this video not only on the Musa Store and Instagram pages, 2 Out for the Quit Instagram pages, our IGTVs will have a teaser, but also our YouTube channels, either the Musa Store or go to 2outforthequit.com. 2outforthequit.com. No, that's not it. 2 Out for the Quit YouTube page, and you can find it there. All right, guys. So if you don't have any other questions, that is it. Thanks for tuning in. And like every other video, please like, subscribe to our channels, follow us on Instagram, share this video so that everybody can get educated. And until next time, guys, cheers.